Hi everyone, this is Debono of the Fortune Teller Shop, and I have been a professional fortune teller and psychic reader since 1990. And in that time, not all readings are wonderful and easy. Sometimes people get difficult cards or difficult combinations of cards in their spread. So I asked my Tarot group on Facebook a question. What do you do when the person you are reading cards for has a bad or negative reading? Stacy says, I kinda had this problem once. I was reading for a friend for September and something came up. I didn't want to tell her. I ended up telling her and it partially did happen. Yes, sometimes reading for friends is harder than reading for strangers because you know the person and you can see the situation playing out. I often avoid doing readings for friends. The other thing that happens with friends is they tend to sometimes drag you into their issue as well, and they make it like it was my opinion rather than it was a card reading. I've had instances where friends of mine have begged me to do them a reading, usually about their love life, and the reading isn't very positive, and I'll say, look, perhaps this partner's not being truthful, or there's a bit of deception here, possibly even cheating, and I'll explain why I'm saying it. Usually they've got those type of cards in their reading, and also my intuition might be fired up as well. And then the next thing I know is that friend will go and blurt out to their boyfriend or girlfriend, Paris thinks you're cheating on me. So yeah, that's not advisable. When you're doing a reading for a friend, often you do get dragged into their stuff, or their partner thinks that somehow it's a personal vendetta against them, and that's not the case. Usually it's just the cards and I'm just telling them what the cards say. Awkward. Amber says, I tell the truth, but I also pull cards with the question, what action can X take to resolve this issue? Or ask for guidance for the sitter. Yes, I often do that as well. I'll often ask the cards, when the cards are negative, say, or it's a difficult reading, I might ask, what can the client do in order to make things better? If anything. Sometimes there's nothing that you can do as well. Melissa says, I always start a reading off by telling people to remember that the cards tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. If it's pretty bad, I also tell them that the cards can always change if they change their path. Yes, I agree with that as well. I have found though that sometimes some things are inevitable. So sometimes, for example, a client is having a bad relationship and it looks inevitable that they're going to end it. And often, no matter if they get counseling, it won't really change the long-term outcome. They might have some small improvements, but usually if the cards are showing like it's going to end, then the relationship will end. So there is a sense of you can sort of soften the blow, but sometimes I've told people there's not much you can do. This is just the way it's going to go in this particular situation. Jennifer says, never sugarcoat. Always be authentic in reading, no matter if it's negative or positive. Yes, I agree with that as well. I tend to, depends how you deliver the reading as well. Like you can be very abrupt and say, look, this relationship is a train wreck, or you could say there's a lot of issues in the relationship that can't be resolved. April says, I would be honest while looking for advice from the cards for how they can land gracefully and get the best outcome and experience despite events. Yes, when you're dealing with clients, often they're very fragile or vulnerable, just depending on the client. Some of them may not be, some of them may be defensive and aggressive. But either way, you try to make it empowering for the client. So even if it is bad news or difficult news or not the news that they were hoping for, you can sort of soften it by just not being kind of too forceful about things. But then again, sometimes you do have to be forceful too, because sometimes people don't get it. Like the other day, I had a woman client and I told her that the guy that she was interested in was not interested in her. The cards just showed he had zero interest in her. And then I said, do you have anything you want to ask about? And she said, I just want to know if he's interested in me. And I said, look, I just told you, you're not getting it. I said, somehow you're in denial. And then we went on with the reading a bit further and she asked me again. And I said to her, you're not taking this on board because you just want to hear what you want to hear. So I think it depends on every client. But yes, ideally, you do want to, you want them to land gracefully and have the best outcome, despite the events that they're facing. Gret comments, clear is kind, unclear is unkind. I never provide a reading without hope or hope for changing how they look at the news. Yeah, that's always a good idea, like to have a positive twist or bend on it and to give them hope. I really hate it when some readers are very unclear. I've been to readers over the years myself and they're just vague and kind of off with the fairies, and I hate those kind of readings. I prefer more direct and to the point myself. When a reader is fluffy and being all sort of like positive affirmations, I don't like that. I prefer they just tell me what they're seeing, and perhaps they could put a hopeful twist on things without being false or fake. But yes, definitely clear works for me too. Being clear, getting a clear reading, and giving clear readings is my favorite thing. Terry says, try sugarcoating it, but tell the truth and not alternative facts. You may change someone's life. Through truth, you may inspire someone to change their reality and thus change their future. Yes, sugarcoating a little bit, not making it false facts. I totally agree. You don't want to give someone a totally Pollyanna, rose-colored glasses outlook when it's not really in the cards. And often clients can tell as well, because they can see the cards usually. When you're doing a face-to-face reading, people are looking at the cards and they can tell whether you're avoiding or wincing. So it's better to just, you want to give it to them a little bit sweet, but not fake in any way. I remember one time this happened to me and it was quite confronting. One time I was invited to do a party, a hen's night party. So this woman was getting married and they invited me over to do some readings at their party. So I went along, and in most of the women I did the readings for, they were fine and generally positive overall. And then I got to the soon-to-be bride, and when I did her cards looked really bad. It looked like there was like violence, maybe even drug or alcohol abuse, and there was no way I could get around it because the cards were really obvious. And I remember the bride was there with me and that she had her two friends just like listening and watching. And it was really awkward because the reading just looked like lies and deception and cheating, and I sort of got around it by saying to her, are you sure of this relationship? And has there been any issues with your partner? And she didn't want to hear any of that. And I sort of like scooted around the borders because it was her hen's night. I didn't want to say, I think your marriage is going to be a total disaster. I did suspect there was some stuff going on that she wasn't dealing with. So that was really, 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 really awkward. I remember I couldn't really get out of it. I did change the deck. I moved on from tarot onto some oracle cards that were much softer, but the damage had been done. They could already tell that I was avoiding things. I tried to be as diplomatic as possible, but it was very, very awkward. So I learned from that. Never do the tarot cards for a bride-to-be, you know, days before her wedding. Yeah, I won't be doing that again. The way I managed to get around that reading was the bride-to-be was actually drinking champagne, and she was a little bit tipsy, and I said to her that it's bad luck for her to be reading, getting her cards read if she's been drinking. So that was the way I sort of got around the whole awkward situation. Moon Marie says, do the reading. I never promised it would be sunshine and rainbows. I'm a reader, not a miracle worker. Yes, very true. We are not miracle workers, and we can't wave a magic wand and the client's life suddenly becomes all sunshine and roses. So I totally agree. Some people kind of expect us to be. They sort of want us to solve their problems. And often when I get a client like that, I say to them, look at my shop sign. It says the fortune teller, not the miracle worker. This often happens with female clients who are single and hopeful that the cards are going to reveal their next man. And often I'll say to them, well, are you actually meeting men? Are you actually dating? And they'll often reply, no. And I'll say, well, you actually have to go out and make it happen, so then I can see it in your cards, not the other way around. I can't conjure it up in your cards and then project it into your future. You know, sometimes I say, you do know that I'm reflecting you, not creating your life for you. Because some people get confused. Some people think that we're the ones that are kind of going to pluck a man out of nothingness and put it in their life. So yes, it's all about giving them the power, not to, you know, we don't have the power to save or fix or change their life, but they do. Okay, so I'll leave this video here so it doesn't get too long. I want to thank my Tarot group on Facebook for all the contributions and comments. There was quite a lot of comments, so I could only choose a few in this video. And the question was, what do you do when the person you are reading cards for has a bad or negative reading? As you can see, it was a very popular post, lots and lots of comments, and even some gifts thrown in for good measure. If I did all of the comments, this video would have been about 2 hours long or longer, so I had to stop it. Okay, thanks for watching. This is Debono of the Fortune Teller Shop.